Consider the equation d is equal to 3.40 plus 0.11 times n. A. Find the values of d for n is equal to 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. To do that, we simply substitute 0 for n, 1 for n, 2 for n, and so on into the equation, and then calculate the corresponding values of d. So I've set up a table here, and first of all we have n is equal to 0. Let's substitute 0 for n. We have d is equal to 3.40 plus 0.11 multiplied by n, but in this case n is 0. 3.40 plus 0 is just 3.40. When n is 1, we substitute 1 for n and we get 3.40 plus 0.11 times 1. 3.40 plus 0.11 is 3.51. When n is 2, we get 3.40 plus 0.11 times 2. 3.40 plus 0.22 is equal to 3.62. When we substitute 3 for n, we get 3.40 plus 0.11 multiplied by 3. 3.40 plus 0.33 is equal to 3.73. And then finally, when we substitute 4 for n, we get 3.40 plus 0.11 multiplied by 4, which is equal to 3.40 plus 0.44, which is equal to 3.84. Part B. If D represents the average consumer debt in thousands of dollars over n years, what does 0.11 represent? What are its units? Well, what we need to recognize here is the form of the equation. We have D is equal to some number, and we're going to use B to represent that number, plus some number, I'm going to use the letter A to represent that number, times n. And now, in this particular, well, what we want to recognize is that this is a linear equation, and the B value is the beginning value. When n is equal to 0, we get the value of B. B is the beginning value. Over in our table, when n is 0, we ended up with 3.40. That corresponds with this number here. It's our beginning value. That was the initial consumer debt in thousands of dollars. What does the A represent? Well, the A is commonly known as the slope, but in an application, the slope is also the constant average rate of change. So I'm going to B for beginning, and I'm going to use A for average rate of change. So it's an average rate of change. If we look at the table, notice that as n increases by 1, the D values are increasing by a fixed amount. 3.40, as we increase from 3.40 to 3.51, that's an increase of 0.11. As we increase from 3.51 to 3.62, that's an increase of 0.11. If we add 0.11 to 3.62, we get 3.73. So what we notice is that as time goes by, the average consumer debt is increasing by 0.11 thousands of dollars per year. So when it says, what does 0.11 represent? We can say that 0.11 is the slope. 0.1 is the slope. But because this is an application, it would be more important to recognize that that 0.1 is also an average rate of change. So what is it the rate of change of? Well, it's the rate of change of the average consumer debt with respect to time. So 0.11 is the average rate of change of the average consumer debt with respect to time. And what exactly does that mean? Well, in our chart we see that what it means is that the average consumer debt is increasing by 0.11 thousands of dollars per year. Now what is 0.11 thousand? If we take 0.11 and multiply it by 1,000, we have to move the decimal place 3 places to the right, and we end up with $110. So it's basically saying that the average consumer debt is increasing at a rate of $110 per year. So I'll indicate that it means that the average consumer debt has been increasing at a rate of $110 per year. Now the only thing we haven't really answered explicitly are what are its units. Well, $110 per year, that came from thousands of dollars per year. So to answer the question of what are the units are thousands of dollars per year.